Thank you, Curtis. Okay. Like Curtis said, we're starting off with our topic of working on a common cause. But before we get into that, we're going to go over a little bit on just terminology. I wanted to talk a little bit about the difference between a group and a team. So we're going to start off with, this is the definitions I got from dictionary.com. For group, it said any collection or assemblage of persons or things, cluster or aggregation. That was group. And then the next one for team was a number of persons associated in some joint action. So what do you think about that? Are those good definitions? Are we all fine with that? Is it clear what the distinction is? Okay, well, I didn't think so. So we're going to scrap the team one for sure and move on to the next slide here, where I think a lot more people may have heard a team defined as a group of people working together toward a common goal. I think that's a little bit more explicit and a little better of a definition. So do you agree? I mean, do you like that one? Is that better than the first one? Okay. All right, so some examples talking about the difference. What about Congress? That's a group of people, and they're working toward a common goal of passing laws that are good for our country, right? Is that a team? Would you call that a good team? Oh, so maybe our definition might be a bit flawed. Or what about people on a chartered fishing boat? They all working towards a common goal of catching fish, but would you call them a team? No, not so much. Not unless maybe they got into a big storm and ended up on a desert island somewhere. Then they'd have to kind of form a team to survive. So it can change, can it? Same group of people. In one instance, you might think they're not a team, but then they could evolve into a team. Or a bus full of people. Say a bus full of people heading to Atlanta. That's a common goal. They're all trying to get to Atlanta. Not necessarily a team. But then you could say, well, but they're going down there to participate in a build for Habitat for Humanity. Then would they be more like a team? Yeah, I kind of think so. So there's a little more to it than just working towards a common goal. So I did some searching and scrolling through the internet, and I found another definition that was a lot more comprehensive, I thought. So I kind of like that one. And that one said a group of people with a commitment to one another, to the team, to a high level of achievement, to a common goal, and to a common vision. They understand that team success depends on the work of every member. So there we go. So now we're making some progress, right? Everybody likes that definition. Is that a lot better? Okay, so we like that one. So let's start with Ephesians. Next slide's Ephesians 4:11-13. It said, so Christ gave himself the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the pastors, and teachers to equip his people for works of service, so that the body of Christ may be built up until we all reach unity in the faith and in the knowledge of the Son of God and become mature, attaining to the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. All right, so we want to break that passage down a little bit. We're going to start with 4:11. It says, God enables or equips his people. So for what reason? Well, for the purpose for his people is that to do works of service for the building up of the body. Okay, to what end? 4:13, he says which would be the final goal for his people, is to attain the unity of faith, the knowledge of Christ, and the maturity of the fullness of Christ living through us. So we're talking about spiritual maturity, right? Okay, so that's a lot. That's a big vision, a big goal. And I'm going to kind of use, you'll have to forgive me if I use goal and mission and vision. sometimes kind of interchangeably because they don't really all mean the same thing. But we're going to start off, we'll call that the vision, or a vision. So how do we do that? How do we accomplish this that we're supposed to be accomplishing? All right, so we need to have a common vision. We need to have something that we as a group can look towards and say, okay, this is where we want to be. This is what we want to aspire to be or reach, how we want to grow to. So in 1 Corinthians, first chapter 10 to 17, it says, I appeal to you, brothers and sisters, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, that all of you agree with one another in what you say, and that there be no divisions among you, but that you be perfectly united in mind and thought. And he goes on to say, there's quarreling among them, and one says, well, I follow Paul, and one says, I follow Apollos, and one says, I follow Cephas, and one says, I follow Christ. But what's he really saying to him? He's chastising him. But he's saying, you guys are not working together at all. He kind of gets after him. He tells them that they're not united in mind and thought. He wants them to be united, mind and thought, have a common vision, and to be Christ-like. So in Proverbs 29:18, it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. So, there's several places throughout the Bible where they're talking about having a vision and how important that is. Okay, so let's talk about here at Highland View. What's our vision? And we've got a vision statement. This is an exercise we went through, I don't know how long ago, it's been quite a while, but we've got several things actually. We've got, we used to have it up here. I don't know, that was a mission statement I believe we had up there. And but formally, I guess our vision statement that's in the ministry booklet says, in our vision to become a more caring congregation with a strong emphasis on families, and to further encourage participation and involvement by all members of the congregation, we will focus on preventive actions to assure that stable families are developed and maintained. Our congregational vision has three primary focus areas: caring for people who hurt, developing and maintaining effective families, and exemplifying Christ's love in individual members' daily lives as we show God's grace through our love for each other. I don't know how many times y'all look at the mission booklet thing, but it's something I don't know that we go back and look at often enough. So that's, I wanted to bring that up, that's at one time what we said our vision statement was. Okay, so there were some other comments that, now again, this is just through my study, but that I thought was good to add, but I'm going to have to just read it to you, so bear with me. Well, let me back up just a bit. It says, so if you think of that as our vision, can we accomplish that on our own, individually? No. We have to do that together as a group. Or not as a group, as a team. Right? Because as we talked about, a group's not really going to work together and do the things they need to do to accomplish much. But to do those kinds of things, to accomplish good things, you need to have a team and a team mentality. And that's kind of where I'm going with all this, is to look at ourselves not as a member of a group that meets here, because then we don't have to be too committed, we don't have to be too dedicated, I don't know what words you want to use, but it's easier to not be involved. But when you start thinking of yourself as a team member, then that puts a lot of different responsibility on you as individually. So that was one of the things that I was thinking was a good way to think about this, if you think of it as a team and trying to be a team member as opposed to just being part of a group. Okay, so we're a body of Christians. And what does the Bible say about that? Well, that was where we got the 1 Corinthians chapter 12, where it talks about as it is, there are many parts but one body, and how the eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you, and the head can't say to the feet, I don't need you, and it goes on and on. So what's Paul talking about there? You know, if we're a body and everyone's different parts, he's talking about, well, this part's not more important than that part. Tom?
We all have different skills.
Absolutely.
We all bring different things to the team. Work.
Right. And all those skills, some get more recognition maybe, some aren't as evident, some are behind the scenes. I mean, there's all sorts of ways that everyone has to contribute for us to work effectively as a team and to accomplish what we want to accomplish and to get to where we want to be as Christians, and and our effectiveness as a team. So God has combined the members of the body and has given greater honor to the parts that lacked it, so that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. So that's another challenge. It says everybody in here is of equal value, and the ones who didn't think they had as much to offer, God's given them more honor, so that everyone's on an equal playing field. So if we think of everybody as equal and everybody critical, then again, it's more of an accountability that each of us have to one another, that you can't say, well, I'm not an important part, so I can sit over here and not participate. If you think of ourselves as each being of equal importance and critical to the body, then we've got more of a commitment to the team. Okay. So if we're going to work like a team, let's look at a couple of fundamental principles of teamwork. Sorry about that. Okay, so the first one is cooperation with each other. And there are several verses that address that. And if you bear with me, I'll read through some of them here. So in James 4, it talks about quarreling and fighting among you, and how that it comes from evil desires within. You didn't want, we don't need that. A lot of times it's pride or whatever it might be. Philippians 2, 1 through 3 said, so if there is any encouragement in Christ, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. Okay, so he's talking about that being of one mind again. So again, I contend that that's addressing having one vision, a common vision. Because he's not talking about us having everybody thinking exactly alike. I'm pretty sure that's not what he means. I think he's talking about to be of like mind, that we're all working towards the same things. And then in Romans 12, he says, be devoted to one another. In 1 Peter, he says, show proper respect to everyone. Love the family of believers. 1 Corinthians says, even as I try to please everyone in every way, for I am not seeking my own good, but for the good of many, so that many may be saved. And in John 13, verses 34 and 35, it says, a new command I give you, love one another. So that's kind of what if we want love one another, we're going to be thinking of each other as equals. We're going to be thinking of each other as of important to the group. There's not it's more of a unity. That's what brings us all together. And unity is what, it's what's really critical to the success of any team. Okay, the second principle is dedicated commitment to the objectives. Again, in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, it says, "Therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that in the Lord your labor is not in vain." So be steadfast. Don't give up. Just be committed and keep working, and the Lord's going to, bless your efforts. In Colossians 3:23 and 24, it says, "Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive an inheritance as your reward." So whatever you're doing, if you don't think it's an important task, it doesn't matter. You're still contributing to the team, and you're still supposed to be working as though you're doing it for God, because ultimately that's what we are doing. All righty. Okay, so we're talking about a big vision, one of unity of the faith. It's pretty big. It's going to take a lot of teamwork to accomplish that. Everybody to be like-minded in reaching full spiritual maturity. Philippians 4:13. So I wanted to ask a question: how big is too big? What can't we accomplish? What's too big that it's too big for us to accomplish? I don't know. That's true. We can't do it on our own. Philippians 4:13 says, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Does that mean Christ intends for me to do everything? No. It says some things he might not want me to try to accomplish by myself. Sometimes he'll think, I need this group here to do that. But whatever it is, he strengthens us. If it's his will, he's going to find, he'll give us the power we need to do whatever what we're trying to do. In Matthew 7, it says, "Ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open to you. Everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be open." So, he's saying he's going to help us. If we ask for his help, he's going to give us what we ask for, if it's his will. Hopefully things that we're trying to do are going to be according to his will. And that's the whole idea of it, right? We're supposed to be trying to follow his will and accomplish his will for us. And then in Matthew 19, somebody mentioned this, it said, "But Jesus looked at him and said, with man this is impossible." This is what Mike was saying. "But with God all things are possible." Okay, so you see the proverbial elephant example phrase up there. So when we're talking about something so big, there's like a saying that people will say, well, how are we going to overcome this big task? Does anybody know what I'm thinking about? There's a question and an answer that goes along with how are we going to accomplish this big thing with an elephant? No. There you go. How do you eat an elephant? Seems like a pretty big task, right? And the answer was just one bite at a time. Okay? So I wanted to show this little film clip here. And then actually it's kind of taking us a bit literally, but we'll watch it and then we'll talk about it.
You may never see this again in your life. Where are the other animals? For God's sake.
Where are the other animals? How did this one get lost like this? Don't want to
Come on, you can do it. Just a little further. Yeah, that's it. Fight back. Yeah. No. Sit off. Yeah, it's stopping. Another line over there. Oh, look, you got it.
Oh, yeah.
Look. No, don't come out. Don't come out. No, that was a bad move.
Okay. Good enough. Okay, so I hope I didn't worry anybody that thought they were actually going to, eat the elephant or anything. But so what went wrong? Lion heard that you eat an elephant one bite at a time, so he jumped up there and he was going to take his one bite. What happened? Right? There were 14 lions. I don't know if anybody counted them, but how many actually were trying to take their bite? For the most time, one, and part of the time, two, and briefly, three. And the other 11 or 12, they're just kind of trotting along watching. So didn't work so well for them, did it? Now, believe me, there are videos out there on YouTube. Oh, before I said that, one of the things I wanted to ask, so what was the problem? You say, what was the elephant too big? No, that wasn't the problem. Because there are videos out there where you can see I was going to say a pack of lions, I guess it's called a pride of lions, but they take down a baby elephant and they work together a little better than this group did, and they killed the elephant and proceeded to eat it. So it's not that the elephant was too big. It's like Tom said, they weren't working together. So here's the point from all that. This is just kind of a summation of several things I was reading talking about teamwork. So the probability of a team's success is directly proportional to the urgency of and the commitment to a common goal. So if you look at what was going on with the Lions here, they weren't successful, but they didn't show a real high level of urgency. I mean, the other 12 Lions, they're just kind of trotting along and hoping they get a piece of the pie at the end. They weren't really doing any other work. So there wasn't an urgency among the group, and there wasn't that commitment. They, like I say, they just were along for the ride. They weren't doing anything other than kind of watching. So the pride goes hungry. But going back to taking one bite at a time, and we're talking about having a vision that can be quite challenging and something big to take on, but to do that we have to take a bite at a time. So what we do is we set goals, intermediate goals. Isn't that the best way if you're trying to accomplish something big? You say, all right, we're going to kind of have a plan, we're going to do this, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do that, and we'll do that. So that's where I wanted to get into next, talking about setting goals. So goals are simply a vision or a mission broken down into smaller pieces that are measurable in time and space. And this is where I wanted to read a little section for you. It says, in other words, there's specified parts of the mission that we will accomplish by a predetermined date. Many people don't like to set goals because they think that if they're not able to accomplish them on time, they've failed. Truth of the matter is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I'm sure you've all heard that one before, right? So great leaders know that setting goals is what makes the mission, or what gives the mission, a sense of urgency. This is what I was talking about with the Lions not having a sense of urgency. They weren't bought in on the goal, I guess. But they said that urgency is what can be a driving force for a team. It sets the pace for those who are carrying out the mission. If wisdom is used in goal setting, very little management is needed to motivate the workers, since the urgency itself drives them. So if we're talking about urgency driving us to meet our vision or our goal, we have to think, well, are we? How urgent are we? You know, sometimes we all have good intentions, but if we don't bound them in time, a lot of times it's always kind of just, well, soon we'll do that. And a lot of times it's difficult to get something done. So everyone has to feel a sense of urgency. If we go to the vision that's in our mission booklet, it's already kind of broken down into 3 parts. It says we have three primary focus areas. One was caring for people who hurt. The second was developing and maintaining effective families. And the third was exemplifying Christ's love. Now, that's a big one. Exemplifying Christ's love. That could be just any number of things and in any number of ways, right? So, you know, if we're going to accomplish those, is that, you know, maybe we have small teams working on different things. And not that that would break the unity, as long as each of those teams trying to accomplish whatever intermediate goal they're working on, as long as everybody has that ultimate vision in mind, and we're of like-mindedness, then all that comes together and leads to the eventual accomplishment of our goal. It's when we lose sight, and if we're working on teams, working on a particular goal, and we get short-sighted and forget about what the overall vision is, then that's when sometimes we kind of get disjointed and we're not working as one big team anymore. We've kind of fractioned off into a number of little teams. So that's just a caution something we have to be aware of. Okay, also, so when you set goals, a lot of management books will tell you have to make them SMART, and that being an acronym. And I've seen the acronym used with a couple of different words, slightly different, but basically it's all the same. The first one being a goal has to be specific. And but that just means it can't be something vague. It's got to be kind of spelled out exactly what it is you're intending to accomplish. So you want to be clear, like they have good and bad examples for each of these. So a bad example for a specific goal, setting a goal, would be I want to be a better person. I mean, that sounds like a good goal, but it's not very specific. But what a better goal might be would be to say something like, I want to eliminate the use of sarcasm, you know, if that's something that you have a problem with. So you can kind of pick what you want to do to make you a better person, but just say you're going to be a better person, you know, you're not going to have as good a chance for success. Okay, the M is for measurable. There's an old saying that says you can't manage what you can't measure. So you want to pick a goal you can measure. And a bad example would be, I want to get in shape. Better example would be, I want to lose 20 pounds. Something that you know if you've done that or not. And you know, there's a clear and concise measurement that allows you to know what you're trying to do. The A stands for actionable. it says that you should always use action verbs in your goal and not to be verbs in your goal. So example of that was, you don't want to say, I want to be more whatever, hospitable. It would be better to say, I'm going to, some action verb, like I'm going to invite 4 people over every month for lunch. So I don't know if I'm making any sense. If you see the difference between these of a specific goal versus a not so specific goal, or measurable or actionable. The R is for realistic. You have to set a goal that, one that's not so far out of reach that you can't get there. Of course, if we're talking here in the church, again, this is more in the secular world, I guess, because in the church I don't know if you can set one that's unrealistic, maybe. I don't know. I guess it's just how much faith you have that God will bless your efforts. So maybe we can accomplish something that first thought would be, that's just, we can't do that. But then that's selling God short. If we, depends how committed we are and how urgent we are, and just how devoted and dedicated we are to accomplishing the goal. Okay, the final one is time bound, and I mentioned this a little earlier, that every goal needs to have a date associated with it, and when you plan to deliver on your goal. So an example I use with, I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, that's not a good goal because it's not time bound. So I could be, have a big plate or a big apple pie in front of me, and I could say, I want to lose 20 pounds, but there's always next week I'll work on that, but so you kind of keep just sliding, kicking a can down the road or whatever. But if you set a goal and say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds by December 31st, then if you're getting close to that goal and you're not getting there very quick, that sense of urgency starts swelling up, and then it's kind of like preparing for this lesson. You start getting, oh my gosh, it's really almost here. So you don't want to wait till the last minute, but you do want to set time boundaries. Okay. There's also a concept called the 5 C's of fostering teamwork. And those you can see there on the slides are communication, which talking about we have to have clear communication, we have to have complete communication, we have to be able to frequent and honest and just whatever kind of adverbs or adjectives you want to use to describe the communication. There needs to be a lot of it. You need to always be talking about it, talking to each other, building up rapport and camaraderie within the team, and just making sure everyone's on board and understands, where we're at in the process. The collaboration principle was to encourage collaboration, that there's no us versus them, it's we, and that we're all, there's, like I said earlier, God creates a lot of different types of people, but He creates them all for a different purpose and for a different reason, but yet He puts us all together, not so haphazardly. He has in mind how the different skills and things that each person has to offer. He knows how when He puts that together as the body, that they all have something to contribute, and it's all useful, and it's all just as equally important. The other C is establishing the right culture. And that's a culture of cooperation, support, amity, peaceful, harmony, goodwill, all those type of things. And if we love one another, we're going to have that kind of a culture. If we're all in it as a team and we're all supportive that every member is equally important and that we love each other, then you can't help but have a good culture that'll lead to success. The fourth one, C, is creativity. We want to breed creativity. Again, this is where the diversity of the people is going to create a lot of different creative ideas. And the more the more we believe that previous, that everyone's equal, all ideas, even if you know, they all need to be evaluated, and you shouldn't ever discard any idea as, oh, I don't like that idea. You know, they don't know what they're talking about. You know, everyone's got something different to contribute. They got different backgrounds, different experience, different ideas. And the more we're open to hearing those, the more creative ideas you're going to get, and the more things, you know, it just opens up a lot of other avenues of where we could be more successful in doing God's will. And the last one is the biggest one, is the commitment. And I've talked about that a couple times already. Of developing that commitment where everyone's really on board that, you know, we got to get this done, whatever it is. You know, that's something we could always, and that's always a big discussion between a lot of people as to how do we, you know, go out and accomplish God's will for us. We want to promote an understanding of how each single member is a critical piece to the success of the group. We want to build trust, and we want everyone accountable to each other. So, you know, that's another key element, is being accountable one to another. So if someone's slacking off, not doing their share, you know, we call each other out. If we do it in love, and we show each other love, and we have that kind of a relationship, then it's easier to hold each other accountable. I think that. Okay, so I've been talking about Highland View. But to take it one step further, what about your family? Have you ever thought about your family as a team? You know, that's something I hadn't really thought about before, but I think it's it's something to think about. If you think of your family as a team, you need to have a mission or a vision, right? I mean, that's what we talk about. Team has to have a vision. So, you know, it's something we could sit down as a group and say, you know, what is it we want for our family? What is it we want to accomplish? What do we want to be? And you know, I think if the kids and parents alike have a discussion over that as to, you know, Team Pratt. What are we gonna? This is what we believe in. This is what we stand for, and this is things we want to accomplish. You know, if each family thought that way, I think there'd be a lot better, a lot stronger relationships, a lot stronger families. And that was one of our things in our missions, of our vision, is we want to encourage, you know, strong families. So I think that would be one way to do it, if we kind of thought of ourselves as our families as a team. So if you, as a family, you do have a vision, if everyone had input to that, you know, that's the way you're going to get a commitment to it. You know, as parents, you can't just say, this is how it is. This is what we're. I mean, you can in a sense, but if you're trying to talk and develop as a team concept, you kind of, to get mutual buy-in and commitment from all the members, it's good to have input from everybody to come up with a joint mission statement or a vision together. And then you'd want to write it down. I think would everyone believe that goals that are written down are statistics show that are accomplished more frequently than one that's not? Would everyone believe that? How many people have wrote down goals, have written goals? You don't have to show your hands. I don't. But you know, I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think we know it in our minds, but we don't always follow through with that. But I think that would be a good idea. All right, so anyway, I kind of rambled on quite a bit, but the conclusion, I've got teamwork is working together towards a common vision. It enables ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary results, not of ourselves, but through Him who strengthens us. Because when we are willing, God is able, and He is waiting to show His glory to the world through us. So, if we consider ourselves Team Highland View and try to incorporate some of the concepts of team building and team commitment and urgency, then who knows what we can do. That's all I have. So thank you very much. Appreciate your attention. And I guess we're out of here a little early.